Hey guys, M12 Warthog here. I am back recording another video of Skyrim. Now, today we're going to talk about leveling and what exactly that can do in your game and an efficient way of doing it. In my opinion, it's not necessarily the best way. There are probably other ways to do this, but what I'm going over is more specifically how to take care of the problem of spending hours upon hours upon hours grinding out just to get that next perk for, say, that first level. Now, in order to do this, I'm doing it from my perspective of what my build is for my character. You can play whatever build you want and use this technique to avoid all the grinding out and apply it to your own. But I'm going to go over, for those of you who are curious as to what my build is. My build, I have lots of pickpocketing, but that's because I've pickpocketed a lot of people. I don't have the higher tier stuff. I'm probably not going to, because this is all I need. Like, I don't do a whole lot of that. Speech, I don't really need 3 in haggling. I guess when if I ever do, end up getting this maxed out, I'm gonna legendary it, put some of the perks back, but only leave 1 in haggling, because I figured out what I want, and I want to be able to get all the perks, because I think you can only get 81 perks. I actually like what I have here with this, because, allows me for enchanting. I get a decent amount of enchanting, but I have smithing is what I want all perks for. Heavy armor, blocking, I want all perks for that. And one-handed is the weapons I use, but I do not want all of the perks for that, because I want to save those perks for something else. Why? I'm going to actually go over it. And you want to know what? I might even just train this and completely get rid of these 3 here if I wanted to. Because let's be honest, I don't use light armor. For my build, I use pretty much heavy armor, although ebony, except for the gauntlets, which are iron, if you guys can't see, because I've not yet found ebony ones, and I could probably, if I find the right place, I could go for it, but I actually have the perk to smith it now, so I could make my own and upgrade it to there, as I recently got a perk to do so. Now, as well, but now, as I'm going to go through this, we're going to talk about how to make the most efficient use of your perks in this game. For me, you can see the weapon I have equipped is the Mace of Molag Blah. Now, I will actually go over in a separate video, if you guys want, on more specifically on how to get it, but pretty much there are many other ones I can do it. Now, the reason I prefer this mace is because it does damage to magicka, stamina, and of course, because it's a weapon, it does damage to your health. But the most important thing that I do for a historical aspect of why I use it dates back to military history and all that stuff. More specifically because it can go through plate armor, and historically it's a better weapon than swords, but in-game there are probably swords that are better than this weapon. The reason for that is a mace with the bone breaker ability has been able to show has the ability to ignore armor 75%. Now that's actually accurate to the later Middle Ages of medieval Europe, because they still kept swords around for ceremonial purposes, but if a stainless steel sword hits steel plate armor, it's going to glance off it. It's not going to be able to pierce it. With a mace, hit someone in the torso, you're breaking bones. They went from lopping off limbs to breaking bones as a result of better armor pretty much making them impenetrable. And I guess for certain bows, such as crossbows and longbows, which had better draw or more power with the bolts, or the better draw from the longbows, would be able to pierce the armor, but we're not talking about that. So, as far as I know, I want all of Armsmen, because that pretty much at maximum level, which is at currently, doubles the damage. Bonebreaker to ignore that, because I am doing a build with one-handed mace. And then we got Critical Charge, Savage Strike, and Paralyzing Strike, which I did have before. Those of you who do not know, I have legendaried Heavy Armor once and one-handed twice. This is my third time going up the skill tree for it. Now I have dual fury and dual savagery. Now if I'm dual wielding weapons, then I want that, but I'm using a one-handed weapon and a shield to block, which is also why you could see I have a high level block. Now if I was doing, say, something like swords, then of course I would put all of my perks that I would have put into Bonebreaker into Bladesman if you want to do that. Of course, if I'm doing axe, then we would do hack and slash instead, and then do the 4 up here. If you plan on using a different variety of weapons, then that is fine as well. Now, there are many ways that you can also focus on skills, and sort of early on, it's an open world in Skyrim, and you want to just free roam, figure out what you're good at and what you want to do with your build, and so forth. Now, I have Archery here, which I have a few perks in. I don't really want to do much with this other than keep what I have now. It's only 3. I don't use much light armor and whatnot, but Archery I keep because I know I'm going to use it. Am I maxing it out? No. Why? Because I'm not the person who's going to be going around using a bow and arrow. My secondary attack, if I had to rely on something other than my mace, would probably be destruction magic or some sort of magic, because I could shield bash with one and use a spell in the other hand, and that's normally what I do for range. I don't rely on archery. I'm not that kind of person who does that. I only use archery, as a matter of fact, for assassinations with the brother assassinations, the Brotherhood and all that stuff, with the secret assassinations and all that stuff. You get money from it and it's worth it, but the reason I use bow and arrows is because you can sit somewhere high up and say in one city, say Whiterun, be up near the Dragon's Keep, crouch down where no one can see you, and you can snipe your target, take him out, and on top of that, you don't get 100 coin bounty on your head for killing someone, and you get more, about 1,000 coin or more, depending upon different things. Now, speech, not something we need. I went over that. And you gotta focus on all skill sets as a whole as what you want. I have a high level of enchanting. Not gonna legendary it, not gonna add any more perks because I know what I want to max out. Smithing, I want to have every perk for the sake of being able to upgrade all of my armor when I want to, and for the sake of just being able to craft things, because there are perks here. Say, Ebony Smithing, which is the most recent one that I got in the skill tree. Can craft ebony armor and weapons. That's the main reason I want it. If improving them twice as much is just an add bonus, but being able to craft it and getting it when you need it, because it's really, you're leaving it up to chance on whether or not you'll find them in a dungeon or be able to buy it from someone, because I haven't been able to find ebony gauntlets, which is what I'm gonna make, which I think would be better than iron ones, especially now that I can improve it twice as much. Before I improve some of my armor, not knowing that I can improve it twice as much with this, that's sort of the mistake you make early on, so pay attention to that. But I mean, if it's simple like an iron dagger that you're only going to use until you find a new weapon, like you just escaped from Helgena, and you're that early on in the game, then sure, I guess you're going to do it, because 1 to 2 points really does matter, sort of like it does in the beginning of Pokemon. 1 or 2 things you want to, 1 or 2, you go up 1 or 2 points in a certain stat, but all that really matters because that gives you a slight edge compared to other ones. But when you get to higher levels, your stats are so high, it's not really going to matter. You could easily one-hit something if you wanted to, if you're using the right type and all that stuff. So, we're not going to really do that. And now that I've gone over some of the stuff you need to pay attention to, is to find out where you are. You don't necessarily need to copy this. I just have one skill in pick locking. That's for novice locks, and if they're that easy, I'm probably not going to do that. But I definitely want to might respect the skill tree just to get the perk back. And redo it over so that I at least have that high level so that they're not as hard. Plus, I actually, for skills that you'll know that you'll need, but you don't want to pour a whole lot of a whole lot of perks into, you can actually use certain items, such as this one I got, and then you get in a quest line and with the Brotherhood of Assassins or and whatnot. And when I put this on, it gives me lockpicking is 20% easier. So I could wear that until I get better levels. And even because I don't have perks, this sort of makes up for the fact that I don't have some perks. And allows me to get through certain gates and dungeons that I actually need to for storylines. Although, if you have, for an example, a companion with you, like I do here, they can open up pretty much any chest. The unfortunate thing is that they cannot open up all doors. So if there's a chest behind in a locked room, you can try and picklock the door, and if you can't get in, then you can't get in. But if you were to get in, and the chest is a higher level lock, then your ally could unlock that for you, despite the fact that it would have been that the lock level for the door would have been much lower. They wouldn't be able to do all of them. Now what I'm gonna do is show you the best way to grind out levels overall. This is not for the sake of getting one skill high, but more or less you're doing this for the sake of getting lots of perks fast. Now, there are a few simple ways. You can go to experts in the fields of certain crafts, and they can train you. Now, if I open up my map here, there is a Greymane in Whiterun who works at the Jaskavar for the companions, and he is a master tutor of smithing skill, which means no matter what level you are, he can train you at smithing. I'm at a level 82. There's also a blacksmith in Riften, but he's not as skilled as the one in Whiterun, which means that he cannot no longer train me as I know more than he does. I could technically train him if that was an option in the game. Because of this, you'll know that the more training you get, the more it's going to cost, and the guy who's better is going to charge more. So you got to take that into consideration. And also, if you do have someone who's a trainer as your as a companion that can follow you, that is fine, because then you can just exchange your money back through a trade if you want. But it's not permanent, and you can't constantly do it, because you can only do it. You can only get training 5 times per level. And as you can see, I'm pretty close to leveling up. But that has to do with the fact that I was like this, running into here the whole time and sneak. Now, even if you are not planning on doing much with sneaking anyway to begin with, that is fine. All you just need to do is just run into a corner, and as long as you're moving, you do not need any of these perks that you see here. If you want to do a sneak build, thievery, lockpicking, pickpocketing build with one combat thing that you're super good at, or whatever build you want, that is fine. Me, I am just simply running into a wall here and doing this. And you want to know what? Most of you who are long-term subscribers know that I record stuff on an Xbox and a few games on my PC, but more so on my Xbox because I have a crap laptop. But that doesn't matter. I could leave this AFK like this, but how do you do that if you have a controller? I mean, PC, it's pretty easy. You just download some sort of mod or app that you press one button and it will treat it as if you're holding that button down until you come back and disable the program or whatnot, or something like that. Or you could easily use some sort of cheat engine and change the amount of perks you have so that you have more than 81, but I'm talking about console. The reason is because Remastered came out. Haven't gotten yet. I probably will as soon as I get an Xbox, but I know this is a glitch that happens. They haven't fixed it. Some of my friends have told me about it, and you pretty much just do this. It's not really a glitch or anything, because it's just you grinding. This is pretty much you grinding out XP for a certain skill. It's not cheating, it's not an exploit, because you're pretty much just, this is something you can do in the game. You're not activating some sort of special thing to give you unlimited, whatever, or experience or whatnot. Just walking around crouched is how you pretty much is one way that you gain skill points for sneak. For the sneak, level in skill. Just like continuously shooting arrows is the way that you get your level up for archery. So I'm not technically breaking the game or cheating in the game if I constantly shoot arrows to level up my archery. If that's the same as constantly walking crouched, we'll do that. And you want to know what? All you just need to do to make this work in AFK is just tape your joystick or your analog stick or whatever you prefer to call it on your controller in a way so that it constantly walks towards something. I prefer this place in Dragon's Reach, the Capitol building of where the Jarl is for Whiterun, mainly because up here you're not detected, and if you're not detected, even in heavy armor, which I'm wearing by the way, almost full ebony with the shield, that's pretty much I'm not being detected by anyone down there. Of course, if I shout or something, they might detect me, and so forth. Also, another thing you can do is, you see, now, when I opened up this menu, in the top left, if you go back a few seconds, you can see that it said it was auto-saving. All I did to do that was press B on my Xbox 360 controller. So if I constantly have it like this, every few hours, I could probably press B. It'll autosave, come back in maybe 2 minutes, press it again, and then it continues like this. You could even leave it on overnight while you go to sleep. 12 o'clock, time to go to bed. Leave it on overnight, wake up around, say, 8 o'clock. It's normally the time that I try to go to sleep. Keep a constant sleep schedule because it's healthy for you. Wake up, boom, done. Gone up several levels. Maybe you only get one perk, maybe you won't. And you see this? When I came back to this, I almost went up in an entire 2 levels. Of course, the higher you are in level, the longer it's going to take. And another thing to consider is that there are many different stones that you can activate to get better sneak skill and whatnot. But if you're a person who mainly just fights with one-handed weapons, that's not my kind of thing. I use the stone, that combat stone, and that the warrior stone, and that gives me 20%. I learn combat skills 20% faster and all that stuff. The warrior stone, I have the current active effect here. You can change that if you want. If you can remember to change it back. I probably won't when I come back to this, just like I forgot that I changed it to legendary. Now, I don't play on novice level, but I definitely don't play it on legendary. I sort of put it in between. Originally, I started out with novice because it was my first time playing games like this, or my first game played ever by Bethesda. I heard great reviews about the game and made me into this, and now I'm hooked and I want to play all the new ones that will come out after this. But I started out at novice and I increased over time. I don't think I'm quite at the skill level of legendary, but I definitely do know that if you change the skill level to legendary, it does have an effect and will make you level up faster because it's a harder difficulty and all that stuff. And you worked harder to stay stealthy, and I guess that somehow gives you more points as well. So, overall, AFKing, if you don't want to sit here and work for it, I mean, there are other exploits that probably work faster, but it requires you to sit here. But if you are too busy and don't have a whole lot of time, and you want to find a way to AFK grind, then this is the way to do it. So, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, taking time to leave any comments, questions, or feedback for me in the comment section down below would be highly appreciated. I did a few other Skyrim videos about some stuff that I've done in the game and what I've learned or showed off my house. I don't really do much gameplay as I do here. That's normally the majority of my gameplay is usually on playthroughs. And if there's a game that I don't usually record that much of on this channel, I usually stream it, and I've been streaming Skyrim playthrough because it's more of a game that I can relax and play casually compared to other games like strategy games that I'm very good at, and I'm a bit competitive when I play. I'll record my strategies that I've learned to beat certain levels and all that stuff on YouTube. So I have a mixture of content on Twitch that I stream and mixture of videos that I upload on YouTube. If you want to check out either one of those or my social media, feel free to check the links in the description as well. And I will hopefully see you guys later in another video.